Good morning, everyone. Centering breaths for our opening prayer. Heavenly Father, Mother God, we approach you in this moment as the first of several hours through the day for those who are joining us for our 12-hour prayer vigil, and yet it stands alone as our opening prayer for the sacred service. Beloved Father, Mother God, we speak to you, the highest in the highest heavens, the highest consciousness of God in the highest heaven, and we ask for that to descend into our being, the highest I am presence within our own being, that there be no separation between these two, God that is, I am. And we call upon this I am presence to pour and descend into our hearts, igniting our heart, our soul, to be not an individuation that has strayed away, but to be an awareness of God's presence in our hearts and souls, in our beliefs and our imaginations. Our heart be ignited now in the light of God. And we call upon that light, that perfect light, to pour further down into our material life, material universe. We ask for God's presence to shine in our physical, emotional, and intellectual selves, in our environment, in our day-to-day lives. We ask every particle of our being, the material aspect, to be ignited with your perfect light shining through, with no inhibitions, no signs of something other than God's light. Therefore, in this place, we are healthy, physically, emotionally, intellectually healthy. We are vibrant, we are vitalized, we are prosperous. We are radiant. We are loved, loving, and lovable. And so it is.
Please join me in reading our mission statement, which you can find on the white bulletin card in front of you. The Global Center for Christ Consciousness is a spiritual center for students and masters on the spiritual path. We are dedicated to awakening the inner Christ and to creating a world of love, peace, joy, and abundance. And now for our sacred reading.
This is a reading from White Eagle. The foundation of all spiritual growth is love. Many of us do not remember and understand love unless it's manifesting through another person or personality. But to find the root of spiritual love, we must reach beyond all personality. When we touch the place of true love, there is no separation. There is no question of being separate from another brother or sister, because all the children of God become one. Once you have reached beyond earthly companionship to spiritual companionship, to an infinity of spirit, you will find and recognize in all humanity the same love that has been shown to you through your individual experiences of love. The divine spark dwells in every individual soul, and it is this which enables us to feel the emotion of divine love for each other. We must seek to find the divine love in all our human encounters. This divine spark reveals Christ to you. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for being with us. Thank you, John. Can you lend me your pen for a sec, please? Thank you. What would you like me to talk about today? Silence. Silence. Silencio.
How about astral projection? Something very 1960s, but I don't think you've ever talked about it.
Anyone else?
Gift of gratitude.
What is it? One more time. Thank you. One more? Two more. Okay. That's enough. That's good. Wait. What's the one over here? Okay. Okay, thank you. For the folks at home, everything from, and by the way, I don't recommend you try this at home. Indecision and love and silence and effective prayer and several others. All right. It's really important that we understand. I did a talk months ago, which you'll find on YouTube playlist, on cycles and spirals, because everything tends to cycle around. We might find prayer working for a while, and then it seems to not work as well for some reason. Well, everything happens in spirals. And what's really sort of unfortunate and sad to me is that human beings, our most important thing is to become awake. Just to open our eyes and be able to see what's going on for the day. Whether it's what's the weather going to be like, a coat or no coat, to whatever else, reading the signs, learning to be awake in the world. But humans have this tendency to be victims. And being victims isn't just in some dramatic relationship scenario. Being victims, even, I didn't know it was going to rain. That's a victim statement. Technically, you know everything. So what's going on? Why do we have to play around? I didn't know this. I didn't know that the market was going to change. I didn't know they were going to raise prices of gas or whatever. The signs are there, but people just don't want to see them. They can't see them, but why? They don't want to see them. Because we have to be awake to see them, aware, eyes open. And humans don't want to do that. Why? Because it brings up that concept of responsibility, one of the scariest words and notions on earth, responsibility. We like to live with this really under the ego's dictates of being victims. We don't know what's going on and so on. So we've talked about spirals before, and in a way that's coming up again. In the word indecision, in the word effective prayer versus not effective prayer. In fact, silence was one of the words. And there's a time to be silent, a time to speak. How do you know which one? Well, I decided I'm not going to be quiet anymore. We say sometimes in our lives, I've been silent long enough. Who decided that? Because there's two ways you're going to make your decisions: divine inspiration and ego whims. And by the way, your own personal whims are ego-based whims. It's either coming from God or the ego. You can't go, no, some of my whims are actually neutral. It's God or it isn't. Well, it's God. So some people will say to me, Michael, God told me to tell you. As soon as you started speaking, I knew it had nothing to do with God. When you start God told me to tell you, okay, what now? You're supposed to shave your head. No, that wasn't God. That was your barber, or whatever. You need to stop wearing blousy shirts. Oh, that's your inner homophobe. There's all kinds of other words, but don't tell me it's God. Now, I'm not saying God's never speaking, but guys, human beings are so used to personal whims speaking, honestly. So much so that when they have a thought that they really can get behind, they assume it's God. And then we hear about silence, the still small voice. God is found in the still small voice. So we assume only when the voice whispers, it's God. No, sometimes, God's like, get up, move. Oh, that's not silent enough, You can't put a definition on God. You can't. It's always this, really. The reason it said it's the still small voice is because that's what that person needed it to be in that moment. There's other times when people needed to hear, like in the story of the Gita, Arjuna and Krishna, the voice wasn't, Arjuna, beloved brother, listen to the still small voice. No, it was, let's go, move. So the concept of God speaking, it's so interesting because it's always speaking, but not words. There's a concept in A Course in Miracles that clarifies. It'll say the voice for God is known as the Divine Mother or the Holy Spirit. The voice for God. It won't say the voice of God because it doesn't want us to confuse our minds to think that God has a voice and a voice box and a mouth. It'll say the voice of God, meaning the mother is the one that speaks on the behalf of God. The Holy Spirit is that which is trying to speak to us. It's technically the Holy Spirit that spoke to people that founded religions. I'm not saying she told them the words that they ended up formulating as a religion, but she's always speaking to us. And it's really important that we understand the mother, the Holy Spirit, is the love of God. She's the love of God. She can only ever love us, and perfectly so. And then we make up these kinds of concepts, and God's like this, and God's like, and they're all just human notions. As soon as you steer away from God's love, no, God can be punitive, and God can, fear God in the Old Testament. Fear thy God, The word fear is actually properly translated to mean respect. Not fear, but that's what their heads heard at the time. So we go through these spirals, we go through these cycles, and God's always consistent. We're the ones that spin out and go left and go right and then say, oh, God wanted me over there. God's just right here. Love, 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 love. If I steer off, I don't need to say, God told me to. If I steer off, God's always guiding me on how to find center wherever I am. Thank God. So, but the human thing is we go through these cycles, call it doors and windows opening and closing, which can be really frantic if you sit and tune into what I'm saying, because this universe is filled with doors opening and closing. If your mind could actually get what I'm saying, you'd probably have a nervous breakdown. Because it means that if you sat and said, okay, let me see exactly what Michael's saying, what you would see is, bam, doors opening, closing, windows, they're thousands at a time, every second of every day. And we would be like, oh my God, I can't take it. So this is this frenetic world that the ego has created. God's saying, well, actually, there's only one door I want you to walk through. But there's so many to choose from. No, the Lord thy God is one. Yeah, but this one's, and it's just about to close. I got to jump. Now we're in through one door. And we're like, God, how did I end up here? I didn't tell you to go through that door. Did I? Did I tell you to go through that door? No. Well, I'm projecting God right now. That's not actually the way God would deal with it. God only says, where are you now? Here. Okay, let me show you a door that'll lead you back to here. But we follow 5 other doors and we're complaining. God's never saying you shouldn't have run through that door. It's only saying, okay, where are you now? Okay, I'll open the proper doors and windows to get you back to here. But human beings are so panicked because of the constant opening and closing. What makes things worse is that when doors are opening and when they're closing, a door could open. Here's a door to your higher good. Oh, no. I can't be going through that door because I'm in a relationship, which is not about my higher good. It's about karma or whatever else. I'm just really in love. Peace. No, I'm in love. And so you follow human propensity, human interpretations of love, and a week later, they dump you. You know, I could have gone through this door to peace, but no. I was there to be with you, and now you're dumping me. How dare? And it's called blaming. Irresponsibility, there's that word again. But it's blaming. Blaming isn't going to help, but this is what humans do. You know, I could have had a career, but I gave it up for you kids. I could have had a career, but no, I got married. Blaming. And you know what? That's because you didn't walk through the door and you're looking for someone to pin it to so that you don't have to feel so bad. And what we're doing is we actually think it's called trying to make things make sense. I want to know, why was it again that I didn't pursue career? Oh, that's right, I had kids. And that's called rationalizing it, getting it to make sense. But you're really subtly pinning it on the kids, which never makes sense. So what's important is it's really, really crucial that we learn to follow inspiration instead of whims. But the doors are opening and closing so fast and constantly. That's the ego's way of keeping us off center. One of the most common symptoms of addiction is, no offense, but it's like an addict will often have this tendency to say, uh-oh, I need to get something done. Okay, how can we help you? Well, it was needing to be done yesterday. You know, it's never, I see something as an inspiration. It's going to be weeks from now, and I'm carefully planning for it. Oh, it's always got to be, oh, it was due yesterday. I have rent, and I need somebody to, Mom, Dad, can you help me with rent? You know, an addict might say to their parents, when's it due? Last month. Meaning, I'm not going to give you guys room and time to think about whether you want to help me or not. I'm going to make you get into a panic, so you have to help me. Keep everybody else off center. That's the frenetic world of the ego. So that's what I'm also calling whims or schemes. Sometimes I use that word because the brain, the human self, ego is scheming to figure out how to get things to happen and get people to move along with them. They're living in a world where doors are opening and closing and opportunities, which are what I'm talking about in part, opportunities are coming and going, and I missed them. Now, if you become aware of opportunities you missed, you're already in a panic. You're already in defense mode, reactive mode. Now you're like, well, I missed that opportunity. I better watch for another one. You're not saying, God, what would you have me do? I need to watch out for my next opportunity. So I'm already in charge, planning for my next chance, but that's not how we get the inspiration. And it's really, really trippy, and bear with me here, because this happens in all categories of our lives, career, relationships, spiritual inspirations and pursuits and so on, writing a book, to not write a book and so on. But this is happening all the time, and people just get upset and go into blame mode. But one of the remarkable things is that something's happening in our life, the door opens, and we don't walk through it, and the door closes. It also could be, I do walk through it, and I enter a relationship. The door closes, which means maybe it's done. But we go into blame mode instead of, I think that another door is opening, and this one's beginning to close, which we're calling maybe the end of a relationship. It could be where you moved. See, for me personally, I'm very grateful that generally speaking, I can see these things. And that's what we want to develop. I want to be able to know what's going on in my life. Not control it, but no, I want to see it. God, show me how to see openings of doors. Show me how to see when the door is closing instead of reacting and blaming. There are musical band members. The band's together, the band breaks up, and they blame each other. Instead of a cycle opened, I stepped in, and now it's starting to close, and another door is opening. But I feel blessed because one of the ways to know if you're really handling this well and stepping in and stepping out of a door that opened and starting to close is that reaction level, number one. But there's another point, because the way our soul works, and by the way, people are asking for specific questions or topics today. Even that is a door opening. What would you like me to talk about today? The door opens. Now, let's say you're sitting in the audience going, I've been really struggling with something. Maybe I should ask. You didn't. The door closed. Now you can sit there going, I should have asked. That's not the way to handle doors closed. I should have asked because you're still blaming. yourself. Just let it be. Just say, you know what, God, I didn't speak up. Can you get that somehow to filter through his brain? I'm just going to put it in your hands, God, and it'll happen. All of a sudden I'll be, and go somewhere else, in this conversation. Just being able to trust. So it's really important for us to learn to be awake, to see things, to see when a door is opening, when a door is closing. And one of the signs, though, of having accomplished this is it's a strange thing because your cells actually become programmed with your awareness. Your neurons are programmed with your level of awareness. I can't have your neurons. You can't have mine. My cells of my body are mine. They're somehow congruent with my consciousness. This thing is a compilation of cells that are harmonious to this keynote. If the keynote changes, the cells can't stay. And maybe a person passes away. But that's what we sometimes call miracles. Jesus, he made somebody be able to walk. He brought in such a high consciousness, locked it into their consciousness, which altered their consciousness, and their consciousness said, in our new level of awareness, we can't not walk. It's not possible to not walk because this is our new level. Boom, it's like such radiant light. All things to the contrary fall away, and we call it miraculous healing. But it's about the consciousness changing. So, slightly deviating just for a sec. So my soul knows what I'm here to do, what I'm here to experience. Your soul is actually deciding before it happens, there's going to be a door opening tomorrow, 11 o'clock. Okay, not 11:01, not 10:59, 11 o'clock, a door's going to open. It's completely aware of wanting to take you to higher levels of consciousness, the soul. The ego has no intention of that. Even if you say, I'm totally determined, I'm setting my phone, my watch, it's going to beep at 10 seconds till so I can be ready for that open door at 11. And the ego is going to go, okay, fine, you're going to wait, the timer goes off 10 seconds prior. You start, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme, and you're getting centered ready. 1 second before, the ego is going to go, boo, and do something to distract you. So you go, what? Oh, now I missed the door, It does that. And sometimes it's boo, but sometimes it's other stuff. The phone rings and a relationship that distracts you and arguments, that distract you and so on. So it sets all this up perfectly. If people understood the complexity but simplicity of all of this, the soul is saying, okay, what are we about? And it has the Akashic records in it, the soul. It knows every karmic thing, every cycle that needs to open to complete some karma, and even the names of these things. For example, I lost my wedding ring. And the soul's going, don't you get the joke? You lost your wedding. It's done. The relationship's over. No, I got to find that ring. They'll be so upset. They'll think I don't love them. And it becomes a direction way over here. And the soul was like, the reason I had you lose it was because you're already losing it. And that's not to say that that's always the interpretation. Maybe the message was lose the ring, panic, find it and say, it's not about the ring. It's about recommitting to my relationship. So don't assume, please, and write to me about how you lost your ring and now it meant that you're supposed to get a divorce and now your partner's mad at Michael, Okay? I was thinking about my relationship troubles. Then I saw a bird and I thought I'm supposed to fly. And Michael's the one who told me that that's what's supposed to happen. I didn't say that's the interpretation. I said, open your mind. Listen and watch. You'll know doors are opening, generally speaking, when there are enough clear synchronicities and signs. For me, God knows. You're not going to give me one sign and I jump on a whim. God knows that's not Michael. I want it to be consistent, a few signs. I want them to be clear and powerful. You see? I don't just go, sign and run. Clear. But I kind of live that way. Like, it could be anything as simple as, for some people, it's gardening. Whatever the case may be. An example, about a year or two ago, I had this inspiration. Like, okay, I had this thing. Is it from God? Is it a whim? I don't know. Let me watch. And it was, I think I'm going to get a dog. And I was really feeling like I could see it. I could feel it. The door was opening and I was feeling all the effects of what that next room was offering. This is a possibility. And I'm like, no, that's strange. I mean, never had that thought or feeling before, and yet it was here. I'm like, okay, is it because it's something you really need to do personally? Is it because you want to rescue a dog? What's behind it? I look. I don't jump. I look. What's this about? And as much as I was wrapping my mind around it, never had an interest because I was always touring, which is another cycle. A door opened, I started touring, and it never stopped, and I toured all the time. But it's interesting. One way you'll know when doors are closing, one of the ways, is you've made a decision and it feels like you never did it. You end a relationship and it feels like you were never married. That means the neurons, the new neurons, are obeying the new consciousness that I am not married. For me, touring, I feel like I never toured. No offense, people overseas and all, you know. It's not that you didn't matter. It's you shifted. It's just not there now. So people say, Michael, will you ever tour again? No. But if another door opens and I walk through it, it'll be like I never didn't tour. Watch for that as a sign. When you'll know you've done well when instead of making a change and then constantly regretting and being hooked in the past, it almost feels like this is all you've ever been. Does that ring a bell? Yes. Yeah, it's like, what? And you feel guilty. Some people say, you know, how could you be so okay with having divorced or that somebody passed away or whatever? I don't know, but I feel fine. People think that's insane, but the truth is the other's insane. To get all worried and caught up and stuck in something else. So that's how it's worked for me, and I'm very grateful. But that the concept of a dog, it was there, and then it was like it never was. I did make calls, and you know, are there dogs? And how do you do such a thing? What? Well, this is how Michael's brain works. I'm like, how does, you know, I'm very childlike in a lot of ways. I went yesterday to look for some plants, and it was these poor people over at the garden place. You know, they must have went, oh, this guy needs help. I'm like, do you have plants? No, not at all. There's, you know, there's acres and acres. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, what do you want? Green? I did. I said, I want it to be green. I want evergreen. I want something that's there, you know, all the time. I don't want it to die back because then I'll forget where it was, you know. This is my little brain, you know, and I'm like, evergreen. Preferably something that flowers. I like beautiful scent, you know, and it's funny because these people are getting excited going, hey, there's this guy and he wants color and scent. Now they're getting on board. Now there's one, then there's two, then there's three. And they're dragging me all over the acreage. You know, we got to show you that. And it was the most hilarious thing. This one gal grabs a book. She's flipping. Look at the picture of that. That's beautiful. You have to send us photos when you're done because your yard's going to be so beautiful. I'm like, what? So we're all running around like, excited, you know. And it's just plants. And I'm like, you know, feeling like this is just so exciting. But a door opened. I walked through it, got plants, and I felt good. And that's how it's supposed to be for us. And the dog thing, I was like, okay, how do you do this? And made some calls. And they kept telling me there aren't any at this shelter and that shelter. And you know, in Sedona, we have dog shelters and animal shelters and so on. But it's kind of hilarious because these places are far nicer than any of our houses. You know, and you go to buy a dog, oh, we don't have any. You know, because they all ascended, you know. Some of them have been shipped off to an island for a weekend massage spa. You know, it's so weird, this town with their animals, man. They're so well kept. I mean, it's just hilarious. Grooming constantly and whatever. So I couldn't find one. And then when there was only one breed that they had. So I was like, no, that's not going to work. So the point is, there was something I didn't do or not do. I played with it. I entertained it. And that's what I recommend when you have those ideas. Hey, is a door open? Should I jump to? Wait. Ask questions. Check it out. Find out. Otherwise, you go and get married. Or you go and buy a dog, which you should have done in the first place. No. But you get married, you buy a dog, you buy this, you go get a new car. Whims. Whims that come from what? Because I turned 30, or whims because you are in midlife crisis, or whims because you had a partner leave, so now you're still reacting. Check it out, ask questions. I'm guided to write a book. Don't start writing. Wait. About what? And so on. Is the book for you? Maybe you're just supposed to journal. I heard start writing, and God's like, start writing. You really need to journal, man, because you are totally out of touch with yourself. We're like, oh, I heard I need to start writing, thinking you're the next, big selling author. Now you've got these crates of books in your garage that aren't selling, and God let you down. God's like, I never told you to write a book. I just said start writing. I meant it for you, processing, So we lose track of these things. We get distracted. We get kind of crazy that way. You move somewhere. For me, I moved to Sedona, and I had this beautiful retreat. A year before doing this, I would have never imagined anything else. Why? I'm saying because your neurons are in alignment with your consciousness. When the consciousness started shifting, the neurons start unplugging. And all of a sudden, I no longer have a place there. It's here. And I've never thought twice about it. The place I thought I would never let go, it's gone, and I don't even think about it. And we think that there's something wrong with us sometimes when we do that. You just moved on is a common phrase we use. Many of us, regarding bands, the Beatles, they could not have gotten back together. It was not in the neurons anymore. It really wasn't. One of them was, that's maybe, but really, especially like George Harrison, he couldn't go back. Nobody knew that. They blamed it on arguments and lawsuits. But what happened was the door started closing, another one opened, he walked through, and it was no longer there. He could have never gone back and played with those guys because there was a lot of hurt feelings and trauma about it. He wanted to be done with it. And that's what he excuses it on to a degree, but those are blames. What really happened is it's done. You're in a different consciousness now. And we need to practice wrapping our minds around that. I don't know, it's just not there anymore. And it's so strange, but that's the wording that comes to me. It's just not there anymore. I had a relationship once that I was like, this feels like the door is opening. I might step into a completely devoted, monogamous, whatever kind of partnership, which I hadn't done since I was married. So it's like, okay, this might be happening. This is maybe 10 years after I was married, 20 years after. And it's like, wow, this feels really cool. But the person had a propensity to being rude to my friends. And I was doing the human thing, like, how do I get that to work and make sense? And I need to tell them, and you work it. But then another door started opening, which was in the form of I met a couple of friends who were very nice. Friends that wanted to be in my life and wanted to be nice. It was so bizarre. 1 minute, I was 90-something% ready for this, but there was this thing, barb, that kind of snagged things and was sharp. This door opened, and I swear I was done. As much as I was almost totally ready to step into this, the door closed. I asked you too many times to work on this and be nice to my friends, my students, the jealousies and weird whatever else. Okay, so this was looking great, but it was done. Practically, I swear to you, it was as though I could literally feel the shift. Now, that's hard on your friends when you have that. When you're in a band and you're done, it's kind of hard because they'll start to sense that you're not there the same way. You're not showing up on time to rehearsals. It starts to happen like that. I think that it's a very challenging thing that we go through when you find this in relationships because you know that it's ended. Well, I'm not just talking about disagreements and blow-ups, fights. We work on that, we communicate, do all that we can to heal where we are. But it can still be challenging because there's a part of us that sometimes tries to keep it going. That business that it's probably needing to close, but you're trying to keep it going. The challenge is that you're going to say, well, Michael, but I totally get what you're saying, but I need to know for sure if I'm supposed to open this or close this. I know, and that's one of life's challenges. We're so used to living asleep and not awake that there's seemingly no certain way to know I'm supposed to definitely close this business and open something else or do something else. All I can tell you is that the primary tool, prayer and meditation. There's one more thing I'll add, but prayer and meditation. Prayer and meditation, because they help us get quiet so that we can hear those new inspirations. And I would even add this, that if you're running into any challenge or just an uncertainty in your life, I highly recommend learning. Let this be your default program. Pause and get quiet. It's amazing. Even if you're not used to doing this, you'll find it to be very effective. First, you'll likely feel less stress because you got quiet. Secondly, after the less stress, the opposite. You start to feel a little better, a little more peaceful. But after that, there's something else that comes, and that is guidance. It might be, make that one more phone call. Well, I already did that. Shh. Just make that call. This time, say hello instead of jerk. Say hi. You might hear like, oh, I never thought of that. Let me try a different route, a different tactic. Try something. And then you do, and things shift. It's very important. God never intended for us to not know what direction to go. Then why do we not know what direction to go so often? Because we're not living God's will. There's a very popular spiritual teacher, or whatever you want to call him, a positive thinking kind of guy, that some of you are into. And it's very interesting. He says profound things, and I think that's great. So good for you. But he often says things backwards. He doesn't quite get it because he's not spiritual. He's more motivational. It can be different. And so what he'll say to you is, here's why your life's messed up. He'll say you feel separate, but that's not what he really understands. He'll say, you allow too much stress in your life, and stress makes you feel separate. And I'm saying, no, you feel separate, which causes stress. So I know the truth spiritually coming from the right side. He's got the right words, but he keeps flipping them because he's still material oriented as a thinker, which is great. It's better than nothing. And he's articulate. He's on it in so many ways. So that's definitely progress. But we have to understand, it isn't the stress that's causing the feelings of separation. It's the separation that causes all else. Whether it's discord or whatever else. We're already feeling off. Now, past lives or whatever else it might be, childhood, wherever the programs are primarily coming from, our soul is aware of all of it. And our soul is saying, we're needing to come home to God. So how are we going to do that? Gradual growth and openness. Okay, how fast would you like that to be? It's asking the soul is asking the human us. I'll move you along as fast as you're willing to go. And the human us keeps putting on the brakes and saying, go ahead, drive. Giving mixed messages. But we have to say, you know what? That's the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. I'm needing to get my human self to give up its fears and hesitancies and so on and start moving along, because my soul really does know what I need to be doing. The doors that are opening at just this moment and that moment, these are amazing. There are times when we're trying to get movement into a new room, a new door is opening, and yet we can't go. When you feel stuck, something needs broken up or shifted. You'll know you're following, spirit more, synchronicities, signs, and dramatically so, repetitively so. Generally, that's the right way to go. But the downside is that the ego and our whims are capable of creating seemingly signs and synchronicities too. So that can get challenging. But generally, the signs, synchronicities, and I'm going. Especially if it's moving me into something more loving. Don't forget that litmus test. I'm not just feeling inspired, but towards love. That's a good sign. But when something's not happening and you're trying to force it, you know that it's ego. When it's time to move, but you're afraid, fear is not God. So what I need to do is something to break this up because I'm stuck. The ultimate sense of stuck is called the dark night of the soul. There's a time when I was in the dark night of the soul while living here. One of the times I was going through this dark night cycle. And it was kind of funny because I wrote a book on this. You think I'd know this? So here I was, and thank God I wrote the book because it reminded me. But here I was going, God, everything's stuck. I'm trying to do this and it's not happening. I'm trying to do that and it's not happening. I'm trying to do this and it's not happening. I mean, I have evidence of all kinds of things that are just stuck. So what would you have me do? And then I write, and then I'm like, oh, that's right. This is the dark night of the soul. Knowing that helped me stop trying to force things to happen when they're not happening. Oh, but you can make them because you're the creator of your own reality. Stop. Just shush. On the seventh day, rest. You've already worked 6 days of creation to screw up your life. You've manifested all kinds of universes and worlds and critters on the planet in your reality. They're called relationships and jobs you don't like. You've worked for 6 days as God, creating your universe, your reality. Seventh day, rest. Because if you don't, and on the seventh day, did it say, and on the seventh day the Lord worried? No. So, staying all focused on the problems on the seventh day, you know what's going to happen? I'm already anxious going into creating another cycle of the first day, of the next phase of my life. Okay. I'm feeling too stressed to chill. I'm feeling too stressed to, on the seventh day, the Lord rests. Oh, then by all means, I'll just rest. But just do it. Even with attitude, do it and breathe. And it's amazing because tensions can start to feel lifting off and peace starts to descend upon our being. And what happened for me, I remember exactly where I was sitting, what I was doing in that moment, and it was like, oh, that's right. This is the dark night of the soul. And I kind of went, okay, how long has this been going on? And then I thought, well, it's been like a year or two. So I knew just by the natural cycles of the dark night, it could be another year. So I got some very clear guidance. This is going to go on for several more months. Here's what happened. Part of me is like, dang, because there's these things I just know are great. If you're gardening, for example, I planted all these great, it would be great to have those things grow right now. But you kind of know they're not going to. You put in an orange tree and it's January and you're going, well, and it's the same with the universe. You got to pause and go, no, wait. Common sense, if not God, divine inspiration, is telling me it's going to be a few more months, at least. And so I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Rest? I'm just going to hang. Now, when you're hanging, you can still receive inspirations about things when they do open up. You don't have to reject everything, but you can still let planning happen. Nature does that. Nature's planning for spring, even though the energy of most plants has gone into the roots for the winter. It's kind of planning for the next season. It's just not producing it yet. So in our lives, keep in mind that things happen in cycles like this. But today, instead of just cycles and spirals, which I've talked about before, I'm wanting to hone this in specifically on what I'm calling the doors opening, windows and doors opening and closing. To be able to recognize these things, to be able to credit yourself for not jumping all the time. Get used to living from the inspiration instead of the whims. And give yourself credit for doing it. Remember, there can be all kinds of the shaming. I promised till death do us part, ended up wanting to kill them and speed that process up a little bit, But blaming is not spiritual and psychological maturity. So at the very least, let's hear rule number 1 for today is see this more often, cycles. And 2, don't blame. Just sit. What if your soul is intelligent, and I assure you it is, to say it's time to do this or that? Here's the way the soul is working. It brings us into this lifetime and it says, okay, by the way, you've got some relationship karma with family members from the past. By the way, you have fear of partnership or whatever in this lifetime because of something else. And by the way, you did some harm physically in battle. You took joy in taking out an enemy. You have these 3 things going on. Now the soul knows this, and the soul's going to say, I have a great idea. The person you killed in battle, we're going to get you to marry them. This is going to be great. This is going to be great. Every time you enter the room, they're going to be like, sharp pain in my back. I don't know what that is. Because psychically you're like, still doing it. But the soul's like, this is going to be great. Now for the other person, the soul's going, this is going to be wonderful for you too. Unbeknownst to you, for no reason known, you're going to start feeling sharp pains in your back. And what's happening is the soul, I swear to you, is downloading. The soul will download to any chakra that is holding that particular issue. The chakra then will download it into your system, affecting the gland related to the chakra. You say, oh, my thyroid stopped working. No, your thyroid is on a cycle, and it stopped working because that met the karmic cycle. Oh, I suddenly had cancer in this one part of my body. It's never just it happened. It's a cycle. This soul is saying it's time for that karmic, they're called, soul illnesses or soul scars of the soul. Sometimes Edgar Cayce called it scars of the soul. But it's stuff of the past that's now showing up. People will have birthmarks from previous lives manifesting as a birthmark in this life because of something in a previous life. It could be a karmic wound will be your birthmark. It can also be a sign of a blessing of some kind. Whatever the case may be, the past stuff, every freckle is exactly where it's supposed to be. That's why people can read the lines in your hands, because the lines are formulating based on this guy's vibration. It's not like they just make it up and go, well, I think that line is this. Oh, yeah, that's me, all right. It's coming out of me. The bumps on the head is called phrenology. The bumps on their head are coming out of you. They're manifestations of the being in here. So they can read it. Physiognomy, the face reading, foot reflexology, but also massage, chiropractic. To feel things. You're not supposed to just be feeling a thing. It's a sign of something else. Tense shoulders, linearly. Tense shoulders, that's the name. But behind the tense shoulders might be armoring in the muscles. And behind the armoring could be worrying, could be carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. Now you're starting to go into a deeper pattern. The deeper you go into the core of these things, the more efficient and effective the release of these things. But people have forgotten how to be in touch and see things as cycles that are coming around, doors that are opening and closing. So when these doors open, it's always about healing. Remember, on earth, everything's about healing or sharing what you did heal or learn. It's always about learning and healing or sharing what you've learned and healed. It's always about bringing more of God in. That's what it is. You're here to be the presence of God. But when you're carrying wounds, when we're carrying stuff, it's in the way, so we call that learning and healing. Really, it's only about being God's presence. But in a world where we blocked God's presence, we have to remove obstacles. That's why we call it learning and healing. For now, we're needing to learn and heal, but soon enough, there'll only be being. There will be nothing left to learn and heal. Oh, then what would we live for? Please stop. Man, please, you're the one that keeps asking for this stuff. No wonder, I knew somebody was screwing things up for us here, asking to keep some sort of lessons coming. No, being is so foreign to people, they think it's actually boring or an unknown that they're afraid to embrace. So cycles, being aware of cycles, the doors opening and closing, the windows opening, closing, whatever metaphor you want to use, these happen in cycles. There's an opportunity to heal something. So you had an opportunity, so an illness came up, but you just kind of stuffed it and medicated it, and now it doesn't seem so bad because you're drinking, or emotional wounds, or you're covering it with medicine for physical things. That doesn't mean you healed it. Now the door closes, meaning the opportunity for you to realize what it was really about is gone, and you will armor over it. You will bury more and more dirt or whatever barriers, layers over that opportunity, which can come around again. Mainly when you ask for it. Hey, you know what, God? I see that. I see that there were challenges in my partnership. I thought the solution was divorce. There were challenges in my body. I thought the solution was just to medicate it. But wait, I'm now hearing that there might be deeper things I could be doing. Help me to see those and release those. The good news is it's going to happen. The bad news is it has a cycle to it. It may not open up today. You might have to wait 3 years for that to come around again to really, really thoroughly get it. Sometimes they've stitched you up and they left something inside and they need to wait a little while to start getting to that again. Sometimes they need your health to be okay before they try surgery again, right? They need to see you stabilized, even if you need badly surgery. Sometimes they're like, well, we need your immunity to be high enough, or whatever it might be. So the universe is like that. So you have your soul telling each center, each segment of the body, each center, today we're going to now start downloading a certain chakra relationship stuff. So you'll be going through initiations of that particular chakra. And with that comes challenges, but it could also be disease if disease is related to the challenges of that relationship. And we think it was just everything's just coincidental. These things are just happening. They're not. So magnificently connected, everything, that when my soul says, how you doing? I'm doing good. I'm glad you feel good. Because tomorrow, we have something coming up. To us, it's no, I want everything to be peachy. No, you don't. You want everything to be numb so that you don't have to heal. But the soul, your soul, wants the highest for us, and it wants to bring the stuff up for it to be gone permanently. It wants us to awaken and go to new levels of consciousness. So the ego's saying, I love these cycles. I love this. Because every time I open a door to hell and kick you in it, and you start going through all this turmoil and regret and shame for living in that room, I'll open other rooms that lead to deeper recesses of hell. God's saying, you could be in the deepest recesses, and you call out to me, and you'll move from the deepest, darkest chasm to the here and now, if you can call to me. Prayer and meditation. God, I don't know how I got here. Well, where would you like to be? Remember, I said it starts with where are you now and where do you want to go? The bad news, if it's bad news, is because there's still cycles, you don't always feel pulled out immediately. Sometimes you can and will, but sometimes it's more of an affirmation and a knowing that you're okay even when you don't see the signs. You're doing prayer, you're doing body work on someone to help heal them. You can't go, oh, there, is it better? No, I still feel it. Oh, I failed. Don't go there. A door has opened. How do I know that? Because they came to see you. Now, in that room, if you don't see healing, you're opening a door to taking that opportunity that was beautiful, they came to you for healing, to send them to a bad place, that you failed, or that they're not worthy of healing. You have to carry a vibration of confidence. I need to let you know, you're likely going to see changes, but on a soul level, you don't need to because you're already okay. The fact that you came here means something in you is ready for this to be released. So let's affirm it. Let's go with it. You see? And it is what it is. What I don't see changing, I'll accept it is for now at what it is, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't have the power to dictate how I feel. That people don't mind learning how to learn the gadgets of a car, rules of a sports game. Those are all learning the rules of this material universe, but they're not as quick to want to learn the spiritual rules, the spiritual thing, the way things happen spiritually. So let's ramp it up. Let's just say, I'm willing to start understanding how things work. I am not a victim of the world I see. My soul can stand in the light of God and be guided with inspirations. Now, move. Pause. Now, go. Pause. Stay pausing. Stay pausing. No, but I'm ready. Shh. Pause. Okay? And if I'm pushing and pushing, it might not be time. But also if I'm pushing and pushing and it's not working, seems like a reasonable sign that I need to wait. I'm stuck in the mud. Wait till the mud dries. Real practical. See? What would you have me do, God? Where would you have me go? And what would you have me do? Shh, chill. Okay. And that's what I did that time in the dark night. I was like, clearly things aren't happening, so it's time to just relax. I swear it was so beautiful, which is contrary to what your head will say. No, it's supposed to make it no, relax. I teach mastery, which is about following inspirations and getting things to move, which is great. But mastery would include patience. Wait. It's efficiency mastery. So that would mean not burning yourself out trying to do something that isn't happening. And I know that on some levels, that hearing all this could be alleviating and just wonderful and inspiring and uplifting. But I know that on some levels it can be hard to hear, cycles and what do I do? And I never know which cycles. Stop. More prayer, more meditation. Long story short, when things are stuck, you only need more of God. That's all. Whether it's peace because of a relationship that's ending and it's going to end anyway. It's like I'm trying to fix it, but Michael says, got to let things go sometimes, so I'm going to go with it. What you want is peace, not the relationship. But if I can have peace and the relationship, perfect. If I can have peace and not the relationship, perfect. Peace comes first. God comes first. And it's very scary when we start to see, what do I do with, I used to enable my child and it's not there anymore. I just no. Now they're mad at me, but I can't be what I'm not. Right. I have a new level of consciousness. I told that to my kids when they were teenagers. Wow, something happened and we're going to now have greater boundaries, and they're like, one of them goes, you've spoiled us for too long. You can't change now. I thought, get behind me, Satan, The voice of doubt and fear. It's like, just move aside. You're going to hear those voices, but it's very hard because you're like, wait, but I'm in a relationship or I own a business and I'm not here anymore. What do I do? It's almost like you've lost that loving feeling. You never close your eyes. Remember that? So please, let's all encourage a proficiency, a knack for seeing the signs and cycles. The questions, when we started, just so relevant to that. Indecision was one of the key ones I saw here. So relevant to this. Indecision. Okay. I'm going to start every day with asking for guidance. Every day asking for guidance. Every day asking to feel the peace of God. So what we're really looking for is the consciousness of God. Well, no, I want a raise at work. If you have the consciousness of God, I guarantee you'll get the raise. You think you want stuff. All we ever want is the consciousness of God. If God is with me, what would be against me? Well, God's fine. Inner peace. I'm sure it's okay. It's nice. But it's the raise I need. See, that's not God talking. And to get more of God is actually available right here. A raise might be years away. God is right here, right now. Get that, and the other will speed up because in God there's no time. The more we get into God time, nothing else stands in our way. Let's take a few centering breaths and move towards meditation. imagine being so conscious that every exhalation is decompressing. Every exhale is a releasing of that which you no longer need. Every inhale is a new opportunity. Something as simple as breathing can be so instrumental in affecting our consciousness because it becomes a symbol. Breathing in, a new door is opening, and out, some doors are closing. And the out, some doors are closing, but guess what? I breathe into a new day, a new moment. Can it be that simple, really? Heavenly Father, Mother God, I know nothing. Of my little self, I know nothing. I think I know what decisions to make, what to invest in, and what not to invest in, and when. I think I know when to eat, when not to eat. I think I know when I'm thirsty. I think I know how to dress. But most of these are on automatic pilot patterns that I've learned accumulatively in the past. And the past isn't here right now. Therefore, right now, I don't know anything. I've only memorized. God, what would you have me know? And in the context of today, Father, Mother, God, I know that I see things through my eyes of the past, opinions, and so on. I ask you to reveal to me, if there's a door that's closing and I haven't seen it yet, show it to me. If there are none currently, show me the most recent door that closed that I need to be aware of. I'm open. Just you, Divine Mother, show me. Help me be courageous and clear enough to see it. Let me see if there's been anything that has closed recently or is closing. Don't assume you know what it is. Don't try to make it be that thing you were suspecting. Be open. It could be the end of an old thought system. It could be final closure of a previous religious background. It could be the change of a wardrobe. Father, Mother, God, we give thanks in this moment, and we are joining all around the world in this prayer meditation. We're joining all around the world because if I have any hesitance or fear, my brothers and sisters stand with me to support me, to feel courageous about these changes. Whatever I'm seeing or suspecting, it could be a relationship, the deceased, loved ones or whatever. God, I'm giving all of this to you. I know not what to think or assume or conclude with any of this. But I am ready to be a guided being. Without blame and shame on others or myself. Peace to you. Peace to go. Cycle. Go, pattern, person. It's okay. I love you on a soul level. And now I'm open. My heart is opening to the door that you open, God, to my next cycle of a higher level. It's all about going to new levels of consciousness. So show me and guide me. Show me the doorway to joy, to love, to abundance, to peace, to healing. You don't have to know what that's going to look like. Just affirm it's there and that you're committed to stepping through that doorway and trusting God. I feel you, God. I feel you, Mother. Show me, guide me. Let's enter a space of joy. Out the old. In the new. In the new. In the new. Feel it, affirm it. Know it. Praise it. Feel it. Your heart is reaching through your arms to your hands, clapping, saying yes, yes, every time. Yes, yes, yeah, good. Every time you clap, your soul is saying now, yes, open, ready, feeling, alive, peace, joy. Hold your hands up and shine that vibration, that light, that prayer, that affirmation to everyone around you. The love that I am, I will to you. To all people in this group, even if they're observing this presentation 10 years from now, to you, I share my love, my God presence, my inspiration. Bright, bright light shining from my heart, my soul. This is your presence, God, in and through us. And then close with your hands, just brushing over yourself. Chi, life, love. blessing ourselves with the presence of God. And so it is. Thank you. Nice. Blessings. We're going to do our closing prayer in just a moment. Let's do our collection and then our closing prayer. But take a minute to enjoy and soak that all in. How's that feel? Nice. Peace and healing. Yes. Yeah. The person that asked about effective prayer. There you go. I noticed also a lot of emotions for several people attending, and I could feel that online too, but emotions coming up for some people related to this topic. It's good. Let it happen. There can be feelings, especially when there's that awareness, oh my God, there's something that's closing, empty. You know, it's like emptying out. And that with that can be some real big awarenesses. The feelings of loss, that's an illusion of the human interpretation. It's not lost, it's done. And if you feel it's not completed because there's a lack of peace and harmony and forgiveness, bring it. Just bring that extra piece to it. The prayer is on your bulletins, and it's posted online for the blessing, prosperity blessing. Together, please. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Thank you. Remember, when you are seeing the doors closing, let people go with grace instead of blame. I know that's not easy, because sometimes it's like, well, I married them to get this from them or to be this, you know, and it's not there. It's very profound to come to those understandings. When we're not living our soul's purpose, when our parents told us we had to go a certain career direction, it's hard to not say, well, they made me. You know, those of you who are old like me, Flip Wilson, the devil made me do it. Remember that? Yeah, well, you have to blame. Look, I feel so much better when I don't have to take responsibility, but you do feel worse, actually. And you'll have the psychological hangover from blame. So peace. What I really want is peace for all. Yes, it feels like you spent 40 years in that job that you now know wasn't you. Yes, you spent that 30 years in that relationship that now you know wasn't you. In time, you're going to be upset because you wasted time. But time's an illusion, so wasting it was an illusion. And if I can now get what it's about, like, wow, it was never about the thing. The compulsions, those are just addictive behaviors of humans that are broken and separate. Find inspirations instead of compulsions to follow, and you won't feel as many karmic repercussions. We're going to, anybody want to share anything that you learned or heard from today, first of all, and then we'll close.
One of the things that I have noticed is that even when I didn't want it to happen, sometimes the inspirations would come through me and I knew I had to do
Even when you didn't want it to happen, you get those inspirations that doors are opening and
then
closing.
sometimes one of the things I've noticed that I think is really important to know is I knew, like when I knew I was moving from Phoenix, I had no idea where I was moving to, but I knew 6 months before I got the inspiration of where. And I had been checking out all these places and everything, and I'm like, nope, that's not it. And then all of a sudden I knew, and I was here within a month.
Wow, yeah.
You know, but you have to wait for that knowing.
Sometimes have to wait for the knowing. And it's hard not to, because we get desperate really. We start to get feelings of desperation. That's not where you're going to get your highest guidance, you know. Yeah, because fear and love don't coexist in the same moment, in the same space. Yes, a couple more people. The pause button.
Just let it be and pause.
Yeah. Yeah, instead of on the seventh day, the Lord worried. Right. It's like, wait, just wait. I'm telling you, that was very, 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 very powerful for me to stop and just go, oh. And it almost felt like permission to just hang out. I mean, it felt like being given permission to have a break, you know, which was, well, you think, well, no, but I shouldn't be taking a break. There's stuff isn't there a book I should be writing? Isn't there, or whatever. And it's like, take a break. There's a dog out there waiting, No, the door for the dog's closed. When I was on tour, people would go, Michael, can I ask you, do you have a dog? Yes, it's stuffed. I'm never at home. How could a dog survive having me as its owner? It'd just be sitting in the yard going, I'm going to have to eat my own paws because this guy doesn't feed me. Like, that's just disgusting. I'm like, no, how could I? And they're like, oh, that's right. Yes. See, so that just wasn't in the stars, and I accept it. It's like, it's okay. If I want to have positive memories of dogs, I had one when I was a kid. His name was Ringo, by the way. Yes.
There are certain words that I try to avoid in my recovery. Should, would,
Yeah.
Those will keep me stuck in the past.
Yeah.
And then my worry is about my fear of things that may come to pass.
Right.
And that takes me out of the present.
Yeah. Getting into the should, would is not helpful, and also the concept of worrying. It's not. And what ifs, and it's not God. Now, I'm not saying shame yourself for feeling those things. But instead of I should, start I can.
Yeah.
But I can't. Then shut up. That's a Buddhist concept. If you can't, then stop talking about it. But I could have. Uh-oh. Back to that. If you could have, do it. If you can't, let it go. And I know that sounds flippant because it seems easier said than done, but that's only because of the patterns we're used to living under that say it can't be done. And if you can let it go, you're going to that's energy. It's going to get recycled and give you a new you of some form. Yes.
Hi, I'm actually from Canada.
I'm sorry.
I apologize for Thank you for the condolences. Here I am for been a while now, and my friend here guided me here. We were at Starbucks, and he just
wow.
went online and was like, "Okay, let's go check it out."
Wow.
So here we are, and he was speaking about some of the stuff that you were speaking of today. So
Nice,
synchronicity, how
nice.
it is. And when you say just be, I use an acronym. It's STOP. It's a cognitive behavioral thing,
Mhm.
but it's stop, take a step back, observe, and process. And
Nice.
if you don't like what's going on with you, you can just say it's okay not to be okay in this moment of what is.
Right.
And
Nice.
there's some beautiful synchronicity of Archangel Ariel sitting right here.
Sweet.
And feeling this, I'm like, okay, yes, I'm here, Archangel.
Wow.
You guided me here.
It's beautiful. The synchronicities you see for her, and the conversation at a cafe, and then looking online and saying, let's go check this thing out. And, here they are. I mean, it's really, really beautiful. And if you would have shown up and said, this guy's the absolute worst speaker we've ever heard, you would still have to take responsibility that you're here, how and why. Instead of, oh, we were hoping for a great thing, but he let us down. Stop all that with people. I am where I thought I needed to be. Some people will say, you are where you're supposed to be. Oh, no. No supposed to's. Where's that coming from? Where I believe I was supposed to be. People will say, I guess it was meant that I marry that person. No, you believed you needed to. I guess I needed to have that disease. You believe you needed. There's a difference between your opinions and God. And it's okay to say, I believed I needed to. Because the only things you experience are the things you believe you need to. And sometimes I know they're horrible things and you don't want to hear that. But on some level, it was in my beliefs or it couldn't have come my way. Does that mean I'm a bad person? No. But part of me was living somewhere else, and being out of the present can bring haunting things. And so, yes, it has happened. but I'm here now. And you should comfort yourself the same way you would a child who had a nightmare. No matter how horrendous, no matter how much screaming, no matter how much terror, sweating and panic and shaking, your job is not to lecture them about reality and illusion. It's okay, honey. But look at me. Look, you do things like that. Why would I say look at me instead of there? Look at me. I would be guided maybe to do that because it brings them here. Who are you looking at, right? Whose eyes are these? Yours. Who am I? Mommy. You see, you're bringing them here. So that's positive talk, and do that for yourself. What am I doing? What am I feeling right now? Panic. Where? What from? Right here is God. Let's breathe and accept that and affirm that. I know there's something else too. Let's talk about that, but let's land first and then talk about that stuff. Don't get kicked off the cliff and have that conversation on your way to the earth. I don't know where these things come from. Please stand for our closing prayer. Go ahead.
Oh, I wanted to tell you, I wrote down when you're stuck in the mud.
When you're stuck in the mud, wait for the mud to dry. Yeah, right?
I mean, it's so simple. And
It's so simple.
we make it so difficult.
And that's what we do. Is it an accident that we make things difficult? No, it's self-sabotage. That's just part and parcel to the ego. Simplify. Wait. Just let the mud dry. That's wisdom of experience and mastery. It's what God tries to talk to us in our hearts with those kinds of concepts. Before you take off, please remember. First of all, please applause, gratitude towards our guest musician, John. Yes, that's John Dumas, and in the foyer he has a table there where he's giving hugs for $1, and worth it, yeah. He has products and things he can share with you there. And if you're interested online, johndumas.com. There's also this week, we sent out our letter to everybody that is on our mailing list. You can become a sponsor. Please do that, because probably this is the last time we'll announce it. Because we do that at the beginning of the year. We're just a few weeks behind doing it. But if you'd like to be a sponsor of any level, like $50 a month, $100, whatever it is, $8,000 a month, become a sponsor. You can select a program, or you can just make donations to the center. Just so that, because that's a big part of how we function through the year, is the pledges or sponsorships. Also, let's see. Remember, we thank you if you're watching and you're here. Remember, when you go home, get on our mailing list, but also you can watch a whole library of these presentations on YouTube in our book, whatever they call it, album, what is it? On the channel, but playlists, I think they call them. And then you can watch it live on Facebook Live, and we have presentations on Zoom as well. So check those out if you'd like. Remember, try to get here more like 5 or 10 minutes before the hour. That would be much appreciated. And on that pledge and sponsorship thing, honestly, if people everybody on our mailing list pledged $20 a month even, it would be phenomenal. It would be paying all our expenses. So, any amount would be great if somebody's into that, if they can help. But it's time for today is the first day of the month that we're doing every first Sunday of every month, more or less. We are doing a day of prayer meditation. It's devotionalism. So we're spending every hour. And so I do that from the first hour where we started to the second hour, which we just concluded with John's musical support. From here through the rest of the day, from 10 in the morning till 10 at night, I'm online somewhere doing prayer, devotional prayer. And that's partly about changing the vibes on the planet that are calling for a big, horrendous changes to come. Well, let's just bring in the presence of God. So we're doing that, and you're welcome to join us. You can go on, email our office to ask how to get in the program if you'd like. Next Sunday, February 12th, is our annual meeting. We do that once a year, usually in February, for all the members of the Global Center. You do have to be a member. All right? And last but not least, Sunday, February 25th, I'll be teaching a workshop, The Power of Conscious Prayer. You're welcome to join us. Chaplains also take that class to hone their skills of prayer. But you can join us, The Power of Conscious Prayer. There's flyers in the foyer, more about it, and it's posted on our website as well. My deepest gratitude for our board members, such great devotion and assistance, and to you who attend online and in person, members, people that participate as members, sponsors, our employees, our volunteers, everybody. I'm so appreciative. And John, different John, John, who's our AV guy, who's just dialed everything up in such a beautiful way. So all of you that attend and support us, even in prayers, God bless you and thank you. So let's please breathe in gratitude. What we've experienced today, every sound, every thought, every prayer, every shift. And for all those who are here with us in this program. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we go, God is, I am, we are, and so it is. Peace be with you all. God bless. Bye-bye.